Thank you so much, Tara. I want to start by saying I'm really happy to be here, and I'm already inspired by my fellow young leaders, but also from experts from different industry that genuinely care and here to listen from young people, want to build partnerships. So I'm really inspired by that. And to talk about my work, I think my work is very deeply intersectional. I work on the intersection of climate justice, human rights, and refugees' rights. And through advocacy and research, as well as I serve as the focal point for the UNCCD Peace and Security Working Group. So basically, the UNCCD is the United Nations Convention on Desertification, so it's focused on land issues. And with the Peace and Security Focal Point, we try to raise awareness about the intersection and the link between peace and security, conflict, and environmental issue, mainly land. And I know that it's a bit hard to imagine the link between these different issues. So to give you an example, I originally come from Syria, and Syria in the last 14 years has suffered from a war. Of course, this war is mainly to human rights violation, to an oppressive regime. But right before the conflict, from 2006 to 2010, Syria had a major severe drought that made many families, farmers lose their livelihood and made them migrate and internally displaced, which caused many social issues. And then on top of that, when we have human rights violation, we had one of the deadliest conflict of our century, and we had almost 14 million refugees from a small country, both internally and externally. So we see how the intersection of different conflicts can be very deadly and have really severe issues on the whole world. So to zoom out a bit, Martin has already taken us to the year 2050. So he showed us a beautiful picture how if we rely on the nature, we can have really beautiful cities. But also, just to give you a number, if we don't do that, climate change could force up to 200 million people to migrate within their own countries due to rising sea levels, extreme weathers, and water issues. So it's our choice. And of course, climate issues impact everyone, but specifically girls and women are vulnerable to these issues. So if you look at numbers, we see that 80% of people displaced by climate change are actually women and girls. And these women and girls, or in general refugees, women are 3 times more likely to experience gender-based violence. And on the other hand, we also see that only 0.4% of humanitarian aid goes directly to women-led organizations, despite that they're mostly impacted and despite the fact that they're the ones who are on the front line of many crises. At the same time, we see that less than 1% of refugees globally are actually resettled. And over 40% of displaced children do not have access to education. So, of course, when we talk about the year 2050, we may think it's in the future, but already in this year and in the past year, we see many millions of people are displaced due to climate disaster only. So in 2022, there's almost 30 million people were displaced because of climate disaster, and 70% of all these are only displaced in that year. So we see these scaring numbers, but also their solution, and many of the solutions are already happening in this room. So from my own experience working with grassroots youth and women organization, both in Syria and with refugee population, the solution are flexible funding to grassroots organization, specifically youth-led and women-led. And we already saw this in the room today with Dr. Parker giving funding. And another solution is a seat at the table. And many of the experts in this room, from Monica and others, said, I'm here, I want to build partnership, I want to hear from you. So we already see these solutions. And also just relating to the previous session on smart cities, now if you Google a picture of Syria currently, you can see images similar to the destruction after World War II. But now with a new era and the fall of the dictatorship, there's a long way to recovery, but we already see refugees coming back, and we see communities saying, okay, we have these destructed cities, how do we build them in a way that is actually take human rights issues, justice, and also environmental. So they're already thinking, okay, the cities are destructed, so how do we build them in a way that take a natural solution that really take a human need but also natural need. So yeah, this is just show that hope is there. And yeah, thank you so much.